time check, it's 12:45 uh, noon time, and it's lunchtime. I'm hungry. Unfortunately, I cannot eat because the thoughts that I have, it might not be there after my lunch. So it's just that I am excited to share this. So please bear with me as I have my late lunch, because I am making this video extemporaneously. I am just guided by the things that I want to say. Today is Tuesday, the 26th of August, 2025. The place is Tallahassee, Florida, and it's the capital of the state of Florida. And it's about the murder trial of Donna Adelson. That's being shown live, and this is my own personal thoughts about it. The daughter Wendy, the headline, the soundbite about her testimony about her mother, it was meant to be clickbait, like thrown under the bus. Or would she be, whatever she would say could either help or harm the defense of the mother, so everyone's attention, as expected, there are the family members who are testifying about their mother. So whatever their intention will be, or whatever motive they will have, the presumption is that they are telling the truth, or they should be telling the truth. It doesn't matter, regardless of how it will affect the defense of Donna Adelson, who has been accused of hiring a hitman, who is one of the witnesses. My gosh, talking about what could be what do the Americans call it, airtight case or open and shut case, something like that. But it's not meant to be, because everyone is entitled to the defense, to due process and to self-defense. But I am more interested in what had happened, the build-up before a very, or like, could it have been prevented? What could have they done, to prevent the ultimate act of taking one's life, because of passion, because of so much hatred. Had it been like a stranger committing this act to another stranger, I for one would not have been as intrigued and as interested, but it happened within the family. So the accused is the mother-in-law. The victim, of course, is her son-in-law, who had been married to the daughter, and there are children from that marriage. Family law, like I chanced upon the question and answer, like there was a divorce proceeding, and that it had not gone right. So in divorce, it's a family law. That's how messy it is when it comes to family relationship, right? And all family related incidences that had bred the kind of strong feelings like contempt and so much passion. And then, it also involves not just the family law, but, the civil rights, the freedom of religion, and how best to practice it, and how best to rear the children, nurture the children in that chosen religion or faith. And then the financial matters also were discussed, because there was an incentive for the demise of the suspect. My other point of interest is in the term contract killing or hitman. In fact, one of the primary witnesses, or the most widely anticipated witness, was the supposed to be gunman who was going to testify. And what he has to say, of course, I have not, I purposely didn't read about it because I wanted to to know about it after his testimony, because it's on the record and it is what the jury will get to hear and base their decision. So there is the difference. The term contract killing, there is word there that, as a matter of fact, I am very much embroiled in contract. So there is a difference between legal contract and illegal contract. As I was told, no matter how much involved the parties are, if what they're agreeing on do not conform with the law, that is an illegal contract, and it should not. There is no basis for that to be like litigated in the court of law, because it's an illegal contract. And so contract killing is an illegal contract. So for my perspective, the difference also comes from the fact that, take for instance, yeah, I heard that there was a Filipino involved also, the girlfriend of the other son, who was who was supposed to be well connected with those sort of things. And so the contract was some contract, or different middlemen were involved before the actual contract was consummated, which is, excuse me, the murder. So along the way, it is not far off for me to think that it did not happen over a short period of time, that it had taken quite protracted period of time, like looking for the best person to do it. And if, from the time that it was conceived, from the time that the first person was told of this plan, and up to the eve of the murder, someone had changed his or her mind, it would have been the most right thing to happen, right? That is the difference between legal contract and an illegal contract. Because with legal contract, if you change your mind along the way, that's breach of contract. But in an illegal agreement, illegal deal, or illegal contract as bad as this, like contract killing, if on the eve of the supposed to be the day before the actual crime was about to be, when the gunman was about to pull the trigger, or murder the victim, someone changed his or her mind. One of the middlemen, or especially the principal actors, players of this agreement, the principal party, had changed their mind, we will not be discussing about it. In fact, if it even made public, and if it's a confirmed fact that only because someone had changed his or her mind that a life had been spared, we would all be saying thank you and praying thanksgiving, because it did not take place, because someone had changed his or her mind, as opposed to a breach of contract for someone, for illegal contract to not happen, not be consummated, because someone had changed his or her mind. In connection to this, legislating feelings and emotions, they are not, they had been attempted in the past, like legislating something. Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar, it's a good example of in ancient times, issuing a decree, especially during the medieval, with kings, and when it was not yet a people's representatives, the republic, governing the country, where it used to be that we would be subject, and it's going to be principality. And love, devotion, and loyalty could not be freely expressed and could not pursue, because, yeah, it could be attempted to be decreed. So it did not happen. The modern times, man will always assert his or herself because God made us this way. And in the history of man, man found a way to express his or her uniqueness and volition and free will. So the what evangelism would look like, it's so different had it been that love, feelings, affections, loyalty, they can be truly legislated and they can be acted on in the, by the benches, by the judicial courts. But the law is supposed to be immutable as applied for the benches, as applied from the benches, right? So the variables would come from the facts that these trials are supposed to thresh out. It is the acknowledgement that man, human being, we are complex. Some actions are justifiable and some are not. So it will truly be, it is par for the course, like it is encapsulated in the right to defend oneself, the right to due process, that innocent until proven guilty. This is an expression of how the human person can be a complex, not can be, but is always a complex being, and that there are justifiable circumstances that can bring about actions and decisions, right? And take, for instance, self-protection is another man's accusation of manipulation. Like, because we have that, survival instinct, but our survival sometimes comes at a cost to the choice, the freedom of choice of another person. So naturally, the antipathy, the dislike for our course of action that protects us at a loss, at a cost, resulting from the loss of someone, naturally, the sentiments would be hostile against each other. And that's why we go to the due process, to the court. Personal history that brings self-awareness and lessons, life lessons. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Take, for instance, a person who had been burned publicly, a person who had misconstrued friendliness to mean something akin to a real relationship and was humiliated by that thought, and how it was not even like the discovery was not delivered like in a confidential manner, pure where the best interest, like, hey, I don't want you to get your hopes high, or I don't want you to humiliate yourself, but there is truly nothing there. Like, if it had been like, oh, you don't go around saying something about like your work, why don't we take it one step at a time? I will help you do this so that it would not come across as if you are harboring under a delusion or you are breaking down or something, right? So that is the well-intentioned people to expect those deeds and actions when correcting a person, not putting up like they're like and what you call that, starting of some kind of forest fire, quote unquote, that would spread like wildfire, that would tarnish a reputation. Like, oh, that person, oh yeah, that woman is so locarette, she's so crazy loca, she's imagine just feeling like this, feeling entitled. And so I was already walking publicly thinking that the things that are on my resume would be respected, and that it would be a plus factor, like in working, in submitting resume, in contract, fulfilling my contract, that I would be given a chance to show my worth and my capacity, but it didn't take place that way. What took place was that, from a second source, third, fourth, oh my gosh, it had already spread out. Like, a well-meaning friend had told me, you know what, I heard something about you. I had heard that you were, being so obsessive and compulsive about this guy and he's married, and you were supposed to be. And I was, oh my gosh, that's not how it happened. But, I just listened to her, and I would regard it as God's way also of revealing to me what truly was transpiring, to get the black out of my eyes so that I can see better, so I can progress. My progress can be more careful, and I would be wiser this time around. So with that kind of background, the lessons learned would really be in accordance with what had transpired, as a personal history. And someone who had not experienced that, of course, will not regard that as a lesson to be heeded. So it's not one size fits all. And if you really care about a person, like me, if I know of, if I want to have a personal relationship with that person, either romantically or as a friend, or I want to get close, I would naturally ask around, probably. And if I, because things have a way of getting the word out, yes, about the background of that person. Oh, be careful about her. She's like that, well-meaning friends, of course, can also do that. Like, if you are truly interested in her or in him, if you are serious about him, it might be good for you to know about these things that had happened to him, so that you would assess whether you're still going to be serious about it, or how best to proceed. It takes action, actually, and it's foolhardy to have a relationship with someone who you would not know what his or her family connections are. Who is she? What was in the past? Of course, past is past, right? But we are really a product of our past, like it or not. It is what it is. So I would proceed mindful of how I would want to distinguish myself, my motive and intent, from his lesson because of what had happened to him in the past. His personal history, I would try to be sensitive in areas that he is most prone to be triggered or to be sensitive about, and not, cast all cares. And, you just trust my good intentions. You trust my intent that they are good because I say so. Of course not. Especially with new friends, we tend to feel our way around, especially if we had been burned in the past about it. And nowadays, even like online dating or dating apps, there are always disclaimer. Please don't do this. When the other person asks for money, please, the disclaimers are there. We're living in that time, where we don't throw caution because we don't want to be the subject matter of that true crime podcast. We don't want to be their subject. We don't want our names to be mentioned as the victim or the perpetrator. So we avoid being the victim and the perpetrator. And the best way is, to proceed carefully and to, how best to show our intent and motive. So we, like for me, in my case, I had been burned because of the wrong use of vocabulary. Like, oh, can I see you tonight? And I would, this didn't happen the way it is. It's just my example. Like, can I see you tonight? Clarice, can I see you tonight? And then I had my friend, oh my gosh, he said he wanted to see me. And then the other line, the other girl would tell her set of friends, not my set of friends, but, oh my gosh, you know what she told me? She told me that, and I would think that the guy is really not interested in her. And, she had built her hopes on just one instance of, invitation and something like that. If that had already happened to someone, naturally, the vocabulary would matter. Naturally, one would be like, what is the best description of insanity, like doing things over and over again, hoping for a different result, like throwing caution out the window, like not paying close attention to what is being said, what is being done, what is being kept, and what had been as a result of the discovery, and not as an actual relaying of confidence. And so these things matter. And I'm not saying that as soon as it happens, one should close the window or the door and not listen to explanation. No, that's not what I've been saying, actually. That if it has no other means for the truth to be told, and for my own intention to be regarded as not sinister, not as manipulative, not as one who is used to using, a user, friendly user, something like that. If it takes a process proceeding, a formal venue for my own intent and my own feelings about it to be supported by my own defense, so be it. We all have our sore points, that are sensitive, our vulnerability, right? And our lesson learned didn't always come from harmless, costless, free of charge incidences. Sometimes the lesson learned came from a very costly, expensive, and rebuilding something out of the ashes had been so grueling, and it didn't happen overnight. Naturally, the intent and the motive of another person, when it comes to that source of insecurity, that source of vulnerability, I would appreciate how the language of love and affection and care can be said along those lines, and not just carelessly thrown randomly, that hoping that I could pick up on it, and that I could distinguish what is real and what is not, what is genuine and what is not, that I would somehow find time to sort out the what is meaningful and what is not, banter. So these things really, they are time consuming, I know, but it can also be expedited depending on the mutual course of actions taken, that comes from mutual decision, from concerted action, to get to know the other person directly, and whose information would be let in if it is about the relationship between a couple being two persons. And I am not saying that the family, we know that, I know that, having one marriage and having kids in that marriage, I know that I did not just marry a person, but I also married the family. I know that. But that the information that would become the basis of how we interact with each other, it's supposed to be mutually agreed upon, and not just one person letting in the perception and the appreciation of what had happened in the perspective of what had happened in the past. So all this had been interesting, that I was I could find how it resonated also with the build up of the one unresolved issue to another, that had compelled, that had pushed, not so crazy and not so insane, but probably a very controlling person, to even entertain that thought, to even, like, okay, just for today is Tuesday, right? If something happened, something really bad happened, that, in my mind, in the privacy of my thoughts, I would think about different ways to harm the object of my anger. Thinking of different ways to harm or to vent my anger. But the next day, when sobriety, when I become more sober, I could either, be ashamed of my thoughts, how I could have thought about it, or be more compelled, or be more drawn towards that course of action, the reinforcement of that action, not just hurt him, not just take away something, not just, to spread rumor, or not just to execute a scheme that will result in the loss of probably a job or a contract or something that means so much to the other person, to the one I'm hating on, right? So, and then the following day, and then the next day, the unresolved conflicts got got were multiplied, and they had been until the time that all issues have jumbled, and that there's no going back, the point of no return, that could actually lead to that person, as opposed to be, especially a woman. And actually, the trial would be, for me, how she is not that person, or either that, or she has been justified somewhat, and that the action of the victim had been so vile for her to do the unthinkable. Or the defense could be that it wasn't me, I wasn't the one, I am hating on him, I had reason to nurture a grudge, but it wasn't me who actually did it. So the witness is lying. So whatever, to the point that you would be mistaken if she would be vindicated, but to the point that she resembled the profile of a person who could do that. That in itself, it's very unthinkable. It's for me, I don't want to reach that point wherein my actions and my thoughts and my words will be described as someone who is capable of doing that to another person, like a member of the family. I would refrain from saying those things, because I might resemble the person who can be accused, because truly you fit the profile, and especially if there's a witness like that. So we a wake-up call along the way would not have hurt. It could be like we wanted someone to actually fuel the fire. There had been times in the past when my own anger was in need of sympathetic ear. Yeah, you're doing right. Come on, yeah, you're justified in saying those things, in keeping those thoughts, because what they did to you, it's an injustice. But from the perspective, from a long-term perspective, someone could have said something along the way that could have checked the emotions, or the wisdom of such thoughts and such words, to resemble, to inspire someone to actually take the action, to take the drastic action. And it didn't happen for a short period of time. There had been moments when one of them, whoever it would be, whoever it was, whoever they were, to change their minds. For instance, like in breaking apart a family, it happens, right? That a man who is already committed, has already commitment, already has a family, and along the way there had been like maybe they thought they could do it. Maybe when there is no real person to think of, it's just sometimes in theory love triumphs over everything, and the other people don't really matter because you haven't seen them. They don't have real flesh. They don't really matter because you have not known them, you have not seen them. But like through the process, you've seen them, you see the struggle, you see the outcome of if you pursue a course of action, this, the struggle is more bitter when it doesn't have to be that way. So you change your mind. And if if that mind changing has advantages and disadvantages, and it's going to be litigated, well, if there is no other way out of it but to go through it, for in order for a person to have a voice over what had transpired, in order for the closure to happen, in order for like to measure or to gauge the intention. Like I refuse to be the cause why a child will be separated, would be torn between the mother and the father, something like that. So if it's going to be litigated, like, and there is no other way, then so be it. But we are all entitled to change our mind throughout the process. As I said, the House of Representatives have not legislated love, devotion, and loyalty in its truest sense as a motivator. That it always happens, the breakups are always more or less the general feeling about the breakup. It's always painful and it's complicated, and it can be very toxic, and it can be in the US, it's funny about how a divorce can be a no fault divorce. You agree to disagree. Okay, let's not blacken, let's not smear each other's reputation. Let's just say that it's no fault divorce, right? Well and good if they can agree on it, but if not, and some issues are needed to be threshed out, maybe that is the best way also for everyone to move forward. And I think that here in the Philippines, where the discussion about the divorce also is, others are positively saying it's about time, but others are, of course, are putting their feet down. But the process of engagement, it's not unheard of, to enter into it, and then to breakups to happen, and for the for the unexpected to happen along the way. So it's part of what makes life so mysterious in a way. So yes, this is your truly Claristi. I hope that my own thoughts regarding this matter, and how some public records had been put there by God's design as a lesson to be heeded for us.